Welcome back, everybody. It's tough, we talk about icons and legends all the time on this show, but sometimes it takes a sudden loss to really make you realize just how big of an impact someone had.
Yeah.
And today we're going to do a deep dive on the Vivienne, whose passing, just at 32 years old, has left a huge void, I think it's safe to say, in the entertainment world.
It's shocking. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. And for this deep dive, you've given us quite a stack of stuff here. Wikipedia, news articles, there's even some stuff from like fan forums and discussions online. Really shows just how many people felt connected to her.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to go a little bit deeper than just the headlines, right?
Yep.
We really want to understand what made the Vivienne so captivating. How did her career evolve? And what kind of mark did she leave? Especially for those of us, and I think our listener is included here, who've really followed her journey from the very beginning.
Right from the start, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a journey that starts, with James Lee Williams, born in Wales, but then finds his way to Liverpool at 16, attended Rydal Penrhos School, which is an interesting detail, I thought, because those schools are known for being, pretty posh, pretty fancy. Quite a contrast, I thought, to the drag scene.
Right. And that contrast, I think, makes her background, being both Welsh and Romani, all the more significant, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just like checking diversity boxes.
No.
This brought like a realness, I think, to her persona.
Absolutely, yeah. And, back then, drag was still very much like on the fringes, I'd say, of mainstream culture. And representation, especially from those communities, was even rarer. So, her visibility was really a breath of fresh air, I think.
And then there's the name itself, right? The Vivienne. I mean, the love for Vivienne Westwood clothing is obvious, but I feel like there's a deeper connection there, right? Because Westwood was all about rebellion.
Yes.
Shaking up the status quo.
Totally, yeah.
So does that resonate with you in terms of how the Vivienne approached drag?
Oh, you hit the nail on the head, yeah. The name wasn't just fashion, it was absolutely a statement. I mean, think about it. In the early 2010s, drag was still often seen as pretty niche, even within the LGBTQ plus community itself, right? So Vivienne, by choosing that name, was really signaling her ambition right from the start. I mean, she was aiming for the high fashion world, the mainstream.
Yeah.
And she wasn't afraid to be bold about it at all.
And she backed up those ambitions with talent, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those early years in Liverpool, performing at bars like Superstar Boudoir, that's where she really honed her craft, wouldn't you say?
For sure. I mean, those smaller venues, they're like the training grounds for drag, you know what I mean? You learn to connect with an audience, think on your feet, really develop your own unique style, It's a crucible, I think.
Yeah, a crucible. I like that. And then from that crucible, in 2015, she emerges as RuPaul's UK drag ambassador. No, our listeners been following drag for a while, so they know this wasn't just some local title. Beating out Lavoie, who had her own following at that time. That was a signal, I think, that the Vivienne was really ready for the big leagues.
It was a huge win. And to put it in context, I mean, this was before Drag Race UK even existed. So the UK scene was buzzing. But without that platform to actually get noticed by RuPaul himself, it was like hitting the jackpot. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And it led to that cameo on Drag Race season 8. Just a quick glimpse for American audiences, but definitely memorable. And looking back, it almost feels like destiny, a little foreshadowing of what was to come.
Absolutely. Foreshadow. Yeah. And then bam, 2019 rolls around and it's, the dawn of Drag Race UK.
A massive moment for British drag, right? They're finally getting their own spotlight. But even with all the talent on that season, you got to admit, the Vivienne was a clear frontrunner, like right from the start.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the competition was fierce.
Yeah.
But she had this undeniable star quality. Her snatch game is Donald Trump. I mean, iconic. I'm curious, though, what do you think made her impersonation so successful? Was it just the look, or was there something more to it?
It was definitely more than just the look, I think. She had this uncanny ability to capture not just the physical appearance, but like the mannerisms, the voice, the essence of the person she was impersonating, right? It was like they were actually right there in the room. And then, of course, you layer on top of that, her comedic timing was impeccable. Oh, impeccable. That dry wit, the way she could deliver a shady read with a completely straight face. It was brilliant. And you could tell she was having so much fun with it, which made it even better. That joy was infectious, I think. But it wasn't just about the humor, right? She had that fashion sense, that polish, that really set her apart.
Oh, for sure. She was serving looks week after week, yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about being glamorous. It was about being creative, pushing boundaries, showing the versatility of her drag. Remember that tartan runway?
Oh, yeah.
It was like a love letter to her Scottish heritage,
Yeah.
but also high fashion and camp all rolled into one.
Yeah. And let's be real. Winning Drag Race UK, that wasn't just like personal achievement, right?
Well,
That was
yeah.
a cultural moment. Suddenly drag was front and center in the UK, and the Vivienne was leading that charge.
Exactly. She became a household name, a national icon,
Right.
And for someone like me who had been following her from those early days in Liverpool, seeing her on billboards, magazine covers, I mean, it was almost surreal. It was like witnessing a friend become a legitimate superstar.
Yeah. And that mainstream success, it wasn't just about her, right? It opened doors for other UK queens. It showed the world the talent, the diversity of British drag. But the Vivienne didn't just rest on her laurels after Drag Race either, right? She went on to conquer television, appearing on everything from Dancing on Ice.
Which, you were already following her career, so you saw this explosion of appearances. But for someone who maybe only knew her from Drag Race, this was a whole new level of exposure. What kind of impact do you think that had?
Oh, it was a game changer. I mean, think about it. First, drag queen on Dancing on Ice, finishing third. Then, Celebrity Hunted, The Weakest Link, even a guest spot on Emmerdale. We're talking prime time.
Right.
Mainstream audiences seeing a drag queen not as like a novelty act, but as a talented performer who's holding her own against these like established stars.
And that kind of visibility normalizes, queer representation in a way that nothing else can. It challenges preconceived notions and really shows that LGBTQ plus individuals can excel in any field they set their minds to.
Absolutely. But her talents weren't limited to television, right? She also took on the stage, starring as the Wicked Witch of the West in the Wizard of Oz UK tour and on London's West End. I mean, this wasn't just a drag queen doing panto. This was serious acting chops on display.
And that's what's so important to remember. The Vivienne wasn't just a drag queen. She was a true entertainer in every sense of the word. Singer, dancer, actress, comedian, she could do it all. And she did it with a level of professionalism and polish that really commanded respect.
Which makes her sudden passing all the more heartbreaking, honestly. In January of this year, 2025, the Vivienne passed away at just 32 years old. And the news really, I mean, it sent shockwaves through the community and beyond.
It's a stark reminder, I think, of how fragile life is.
Yeah.
And how we often take things for granted. And for someone so full of life, so vibrant, it's especially difficult to process.
The family has requested privacy, and the cause of death hasn't been released. But despite the sadness, I mean, social media has been absolutely flooded with tributes from, Drag Race stars, celebrities, fans worldwide.
And what strikes me about those tributes, is the genuine outpouring of love and respect.
Yeah.
It's not just, rest in peace messages. It's people sharing personal anecdotes, like how she inspired them, made them laugh. It really speaks volumes, I think, about the connections that she formed with people.
And that's what we'll explore further as we continue this deep dive, right? It's about more than just listing achievements. It's about understanding the legacy she leaves behind.
Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting, thinking about how even with all the success, the Vivienne, she never lost that down-to-earth quality. You could tell she really just genuinely loved what she did. And I think that passion really, really resonated with people.
Yeah, there was never that sense of her selling out or changing who she was to fit into the mainstream. It felt like the mainstream was finally kind of catching up to her, right?
Yeah. And that's what I think is so powerful about her story.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about her individual achievements. It was about what her success really represented for the wider LGBTQ plus community.
Totally. Yeah. She wasn't just breaking through barriers. It was like she was smashing them to pieces.
Yeah.
Right. And in doing so, she created this space for more diverse voices and stories to be heard.
Well, absolutely. I think about someone who maybe wasn't exposed to drag before, and then they see the Vivienne, winning over these audiences on Dancing on Ice or holding her own on a panel show. It really challenges those preconceived notions of what a drag queen, can be.
Yeah. And it wasn't just visibility for visibility's sake, right?
No, exactly.
The Vivienne was winning over audiences in spaces where drag queens were rarely seen, and it proved that they could hold their own, against any other entertainer.
Exactly. And she did it all with her signature wit, her infectious laugh, a heart full of love. She was a true original, and she'll be deeply missed.
Absolutely. And while her passing is an absolute tragedy, I think her spirit, her talent, and the impact that she had will continue to inspire countless people, for generations to come. One of the things that really stood out to me looking back on her career was her willingness to push boundaries and challenge expectations. She wasn't afraid to be bold, to be different, to be herself no matter what.
Yeah, and she never apologized for it either. Remember that photo shoot she did where she recreated all those iconic Vivienne Westwood looks?
Oh, yes.
It was so bold, it was camp, and some people, they didn't get it. But she didn't care.
Yeah.
She was celebrating her inspirations, paying homage to them.
Yeah.
But also, making it her own.
Yeah, yeah. I love that show. And it really sparked conversations too, right? I mean, people who might have dismissed drag before had to kind of stop and consider, like, the artistry, the references, the sheer talent involved.
Exactly. That's what she did so well. She brought drag to the forefront of popular culture, but without sacrificing its edge, its subversive nature. It was a delicate balance, but she pulled it off effortlessly, I think.
Effortlessly. It makes me think about her time on Drag Race UK, where, she could be so hilarious one minute and cutting, and then the next she's delivering this heart-wrenching lip sync performance. It was that depth, that range that really captivated people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about her performance to I Will Survive in the finale. I mean, it wasn't just a lip sync. It was a statement, of resilience, a celebration of survival against the odds. And I think it really resonated with so many people, particularly, within the LGBTQ plus community.
Oh, so powerful. You could feel the emotion, the history, the weight of what that song represented all pouring through her performance.
Yeah, and that's what set her apart. She wasn't just going through the motions. She was bringing her whole self to every single performance.
Oh, yeah. But what I think is really interesting? It's how the Vivienne took that art form and made it undeniably mainstream without losing that edge. How do you think she managed that balance?
I think it comes down to authenticity.
Correct.
She never compromised who she was, even when she was on primetime television or performing for the Queen. She was always the Vivienne,
Yeah.
with that quick wit, that sharp tongue, and that huge heart. And people connected with that. They saw a real person, not just a persona.
Yeah. And it felt like she was always pushing herself creatively too, right?
Yeah.
Whether it was designing her own outfits, releasing music, taking on, those challenging acting roles, she never settled for just being, a reality TV star.
Exactly. She used her platform to explore different avenues, to collaborate with other artists, and to constantly push the boundaries of, what drag could be. And that's such a powerful message for anyone, but especially for young LGBTQ plus people who might be struggling to find their place in the world.
It's about being true to yourself, embracing your creativity, and never letting anyone, dim your light. And that's something that Vivienne embodied throughout her entire career.
Absolutely. And her story, I think, really teaches us the importance of embracing our individuality, of pursuing our passions, with fearlessness,
Yeah.
and using our voices to uplift and empower others. She showed us that anything is possible if you dare to dream big and work hard to achieve those dreams.
Beautifully said. But, it's not just about, aspiring performers, right? Think about anyone who's felt like an outsider, someone who's been told that they're, too much or not enough. The Vivienne success is a testament to the power of owning your uniqueness and refusing to conform to expectations.
Yeah, and that's such an important message in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with these images of what we, should be.
Yeah.
The Vivienne was a reminder that true beauty lies in being unapologetically yourself.
Exactly. And she did it all with, a sense of humor, a twinkle in her eye, never taking herself too seriously. It's a reminder that even while fighting for change, for acceptance, there's room for joy, for laughter, for the pure fun of it all.
And that's what we'll carry with us as we move forward, I think. The memory of her laughter, her warmth, her unwavering belief in herself and in her art, it's a legacy that will continue to inspire.
It's interesting to think back to when she was first starting out. I mean, the whole landscape of drag has changed so much, even just in the past, 5-6 years?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, when the Vivienne was first coming up, it was a completely different world, right?
Yeah.
A lot less mainstream, a lot more underground. You really had to, seek it out.
Oh, totally. Yeah, drag was still seen as this, niche thing.
Yeah.
Almost taboo, I'd say, by a lot of people. You definitely wouldn't have seen it on, primetime TV. No way.
Right. It was more about these like intimate club spaces, word of mouth, building a community. And the Vivienne, I mean, she came up through all that. But even back then, you could tell she had like her sights set higher.
Oh, yeah. There was this drive, this sense that she wasn't going to be like confined to just one scene. And you know what? It's not like she like abandoned her roots once the success started coming either. She always made time for those smaller gigs, supporting local queens. Like there are tons of stories out there about her generosity and just her willingness to lift other people up.
And that says a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it would have been so easy to get swept up in the fame, to kind of distance herself from those, more underground aspects of drag. But she never did.
Never did. And I think that's a big part of why, her passing has hit so many people so hard. It's not just the loss of like a talented performer. It's the loss of someone who felt like, like a genuine part of the community. Someone who never, ever forgot where she came from.
It's that authenticity, that shines through in everything she did. It didn't matter if she was on this massive stage or in a tiny club. The Vivienne was always 100% herself. No pretense, no watering down her personality, just pure, unadulterated Vivienne.
And that's what made her such a powerful force for change, because she wasn't trying to fit into anybody's box. She was forcing people to expand their own definitions of, what drag could be, what a queer icon could look like.
We talked about those early TV appearances earlier and how she was winning over audiences who might have, never seen a drag queen before in their lives. But it wasn't just about the exposure, right? It was about the way she presented herself.
Right. I mean, it would have been so easy to, play up the shock value, to just rely on these like stereotypes to get a reaction.
Yeah.
But the Vivienne, she always led with her talent, her wit, her intelligence. She demanded respect and she got it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in doing so, she paved the way for so many other queens to follow. I mean, the doors that she kicked open, they're still swinging wide open today. That impact is immeasurable.
It really is. I mean, just imagine all the young LGBTQ plus people who saw her on TV winning awards, being celebrated for her talent. It gave them permission to dream bigger, to believe that they could achieve anything, anything they set their minds to.
And that's the legacy that'll continue to resonate, long after the headlines fade. The Vivienne story is a reminder that being different isn't just, okay. It's powerful. It's about embracing your quirks, your passions, the things that make you, you.
Yeah.
And using them to make the world a more vibrant place, a more accepting place.
Beautifully said. And, for our listener who, clearly is already engaged with this topic, I think the Vivienne's passing maybe also sparks some reflection,
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? How do we honor her legacy in our own lives?
That's such an important question. And I think it's different for everybody, right? Maybe it's supporting your local drag performers. Maybe it's speaking up against injustice when you see it. Or maybe it's just, being a little bit more accepting of yourself and the people around you. But the point is, the Vivienne spirit lives on in all of us. It's up to each of us to carry the torch forward.
I couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just take a moment to celebrate the Vivienne's life, her impact, and the incredible mark she left on the world. She may be gone, but her legacy will continue to inspire us, to challenge us, and to remind us that, life is just too short to be anything but ourselves.
And remember, the best way to honor her memory is to keep spreading that message, the message of love, of acceptance, and unapologetic self-expression. So go out there, be bold, be kind, and shine your light bright.